Thank you very much. So an interesting thing happened to me just a little while ago. I had an opportunity to spend some time with some students who were just about ready to graduate from college. And can you guess what completely occupied their minds at that point in time? Getting a job. It's all about getting a job, right? So I was talking with them and I was explaining to them, look, it's not about the job, it's really about the career. And don't just pick the first job that comes along, pick the job that's right for you. And do you think they heard any of that? No, absolutely not. They're looking for that first job, they're desperate to get the first job. If the first person comes along, offers them the job, they'll take it. Bam, go. Okay, great. So it dawned on me, I have all of this great information about a career, but they were the wrong audience for it. So I'm here today to share my career information with you. Because I think even after we've started working, sometimes we can not quite understand what we're doing. So first off, how long does a career last? 35. It has a starting point, it has an ending point. How long is a career?
45 years.
That's actually correct. So it's roughly, we're all a little bit different, but it's roughly 45 years. Now, if you were going to do something, if you're going to go on a vacation, would you have a plan for your vacation? Dang straight. You'd have down to the day, potentially down to the hour. You're getting ready to work, go out into the work field for 45 years. Do you have a plan? No. Most of us don't, right? Sure seems like you should. Considering what, you spend about 20 years getting out of college, you spend about 45 years working, and then hopefully you'll be retired for about 20 years or so. This is the big part of your life, and you have no plan for it. Swell. Okay, so let's talk about this. So, there's a difference between a job and a career. A job is clearly something that you get a paycheck for, right? You work for somebody. You go in, you do work, they give you a paycheck, you come home, you do it again the next day. That is a job. So what's a career? Well, it's not a job. It seems like it's a bigger thing than a job, right? I believe a career is actually a series of jobs that you'll have. How interesting, series of jobs. I have a job, I'm happy. Why would I ever have another job? I would argue, everybody who's hearing me today, you will not retire from the company that you're working for right now. What kind of arrogance would you have to say that if you have another 25 or even 20 years left in your career, that you're going to spend it working for the company that you're currently working for? Fingers crossed. Look, the world changes almost completely every 5 years. 4 times that and you still think you're going to be working where you are? I don't think so. Okay, question is whether or not you want to work for them, and question is whether or not they want you to work for them. It's a two-way street, right? Yeah. So my career started out in the best way possible. So on the summer break between my junior and senior year in college, I accompanied a friend who was going to a job fair, whatever. So I typed up a resume, went along with him, and I handed out my resume everywhere he went, no big deal. We went off to college, beginning of my senior year in college, and I got a letter in the mail. It said, Jim, when you graduate, we'd love to have you come work for us. Oh, you would you now? And it was from a company called McDonnell Douglas, which was a big aerospace defense firm. A good company to go work for. What that means is during my senior year in high school, I had a job waiting for me. I had the best senior year in college ever. So anyway, I got out of college, I went to work for McDonnell Douglas. I was a software engineer. I was writing computer code in assembly language. My code went on to the US Navy's FA-18 fighter jet, which is cool. It's got wings, it flies off a ship, it's extraordinary, and it's flown by pilots, fighter jocks, if you will. What cooler job could a guy possibly want to have? None. It's just not possible. The code I wrote had to be tight, had to be small because the computer only had so much memory. It had to be fast because it only had so much time in which it could possibly execute the code. It was tight, it was fast, it was good code. And I wrote it by hand. Graphical user interfaces didn't exist. Text editor, folks, that's what it was all about. So what was interesting about this job is that we developed code, and at the end of the year we would release it. Give it to the Navy, they'd start to use it. Then we'd do it all over again. End of that year we'd release it. I was there for 6 years. I went through 6 release cycles. You know, I pretty much got it after the first 2, okay? So the job was a good job. I could have spent my entire career there. And in fact, I started working with some folks who are still there 25 years later. They're the best in the world at what they do, but what they do is about this wide. Okay? I went to school, I got a master's degree, but I popped out. I discovered a very important thing. That my employer would not pay me more money because I had a master's degree. Because one day before I graduated, I was Jim. The day after I graduated, I was Jim. There was no difference. Thank you very much. So realizing that I really wasn't going to get a financial benefit from this, I put some feelers out. And I was contacted by a company called Siemens, which is a very large German telecommunication company, working down in South Florida, about an hour north of Miami. They said, Jim, you have fantastic knowledge that you learned during your master's degree. Why don't you come and work for us, and we'll pay you a lot more money, and we'll buy your house. Well, I was young and stupid and whatever, and you want to pay me more money? Woo, I'm gone. So I uprooted and I moved and I went to work for them. And I discovered two very important things about a new job that I want to pass on to those people who may not have switched jobs. Number one, you know, after having spent 6 years at McDonnell Douglas, I mean, I was nowhere as far as management went, but I knew how things worked. I knew who to get in contact. I knew what the processes were. So I was happening. When I switched to Siemens, I was an idiot. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know how they did things. I didn't even know where the cafeteria was. So every time you switch jobs, it's like a reset. No matter how much you knew at your last job, when you go to work for the new one, you're a babe in the woods. Also, I went from having, I believe, like 3 weeks of vacation time to having 2 weeks of vacation time. That's another thing that gets reset. Remember, the people in the personnel department don't even talk to the people who are hiring you. You're basically brand new to them, so you get the brand new vacation time. That was an important learning experience. My time at Siemens was actually very good. I was a systems engineer there. What a cool job. What does a systems engineer do? Nobody knows exactly what a systems engineer does. My job was, they had a fabulous new piece of equipment that they developed in the labs. They wanted to sell it to the US telecommunications company, but they had to work a bunch of standards in it so they could actually sell it. So my job was to take a look at the stuff that came out of the lab, figure out what the standards say, and then tell the engineers what they needed to change. I got to travel to Germany. Very, very cool. How are you going to stay in Kansas after you do that sort of stuff like that? I learned about how telephone networks are built and what goes into them. I was no longer a software engineer. So no longer did I go home at the end of the day going, hey, that was a good day. I produced this. Now I go home at the end of the day and go, well, I had a bunch of phone calls. So there you go. That was a good thing, right? And while I was at Siemens, I actually made the jump from engineering, from system engineering, one farther into marketing. They had a need for people who could talk to the salespeople and explain to them why the products that they made were so great. I said, look, and I like to talk to people. Pow, I made that jump, never looked back. There were some bad things about working for Siemens. Siemens had a very much of a control culture. Senior management told you what to do, and you would do it. Thank you very much. There were some crazy people running the company. They would stand outside the business at starting time and see who came in after everybody was supposed to be there. Take little notes and stuff like that. And there was no clear career advancement. So I was there for about 5 years, and I did not get promoted. I bumped to different jobs, but I didn't get promoted. So what happened was then I was contacted by a little startup working out of Dallas. I said, startup? Well, that sounds groovy. And oh, by the way, it's new, it's got stuff going on. Oh, by the way, I'd gotten a PhD, so I was now worth more. Of course, Siemens didn't know that I had really done that because I was the same one day and the other. So I said, fantastic, little startup. I'd love to go work for you and experience the world of startups. So I went off to work for this little startup that was making software that they sold to telephone companies so they could more easily run their networks. You know you're working for a startup when they say, hello, welcome, Jim, we're pleased to have you here. Here's a key. What will I do with the key? They said, lock the door when you go home at night. Oh. When I was at McDonnell Douglas and when I was at Siemens, I did not get a key. There was not the concept of locking the door. It was very good. I discovered that startups have an energy, a great energy. Everyone's very excited about it. Everyone has to do their work. Think of everybody being in a rowboat. You're either rowing or you're bailing. Otherwise, the boat's going to sink. Okay? Everybody understands that. Everybody contributes. It was very different from working at a large company. Got to travel to Canada. All right, this is pretty good stuff. There were some bad things about working for this company. It turns out the vice president that I worked for really didn't like me. I should have known that before I took the job, but whatever. Okay? Company couldn't really make up their mind on what they wanted to do next. My immediate boss was a friend who'd come along with me, but he was a lousy boss. Okay? Good friend, lousy boss. Okay? And after a while, I didn't really care what I was working on. I lost interest. So then it was time to go look for another company. So I did. I went and looked for another company. I found another company in town called Alcatel. It's a very large French equipment manufacturer. Went to work for them. Once again, now I'm back in the big environment, big company and stuff like that. Alcatel was very cool. They were doing optical gear. That's fabulous. That's wonderful and stuff like that. I wasn't there that long. I was there for about a year or so. There was some good and there was some bad to that. My boss was a little bit crazy. I mean, he's just flat out crazy. Okay, nice guy, but boy, you tick him off, you get really mad. Not at me, but just at other people, and you just sort of stand back when that would happen. I got a call then from a little startup in town. They said, listen, we're a little startup, but we've got $200 million in venture capital funding, and we're going to change the world. I said, well, you had me at $200 million. Okay, rock and roll. And they said, hey, come and join us and we'll show you the world. I said, fabulous. So I said, look, this Alcatel gig was okay for a little while, but I want to go do exciting stuff. And this is going to be the last job I'm ever going to have because they're going to get bought out and I'm going to be incredibly wealthy. Fantastic. And it was really cool because they had these chairs, these really nice chairs that are like a mesh type of thing. They cost like $700 or something like that. Oh, it was so cool. They had soda, free soda whenever you wanted. They brought dinner in, free dinner. It was Asian on Monday, tacos on Tuesday, all that. Oh, it was great. It was absolutely fabulous. Until the money ran out. And this was the first job I'd ever gotten fired from. When money was gone, they said, Jim, you're gone. What? No, I moved. You don't fire me. That's fine. Then I went to work for Verizon. Long story there, but I spent 10 years at Verizon. A couple interesting things about my time at Verizon, I never got promoted. In 10 years at Verizon, I moved around. I had a number of different jobs, but I never got promoted while I was at Verizon. That's a bit of a bummer. And it was a bit of a bummer up until the day they said, Jim, we don't need you anymore. What? Do you know who I am? Apparently they did, because they terminated me. Right. So I had a little bit of downtime, but then I got the best job. I went to work for a company called InLogic. They were building power strips to be sold to data centers. Oh, how cool was this? They had a great power strip, had a little computer built into it, all sorts of fabulous stuff. So I got a job with them, and I went to China, I went to Hong Kong, I went to Europe. I traveled the world for this company, and I was close friends with the CEO. I was like his wingman. He needed something done, he'd call me up, I'll get it taken care of. I could work from home. This was the coolest gig ever. And it was the coolest gig for 6 months. And then they ran into some financial problems and said, Jim, you're great, but we really don't need you. We don't need you that much. Damn it. So now I find myself in my 8th job, working for the coolest company in the world called GSL Solutions. This company makes websites for public schools, which doesn't sound that exciting, but there's 144,000 public schools out there. This company has the ability to go the distance. So I'm the vice president of product management for this company. How's that? Thank you very much.
Whoa.
8 jobs later, got my own promotion. Thank you very much. So maybe this is the end of the road as far as companies I'm going to work for. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I would be very happy if it was, here it comes, the wording's important, the last company that I had to work for. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Please give us a 1 minute for provide your